Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters brought to you by Marriage Beyond the Breach. I'm your girl, Valerie Mason Chase, and this here sexy milk chocolate is.
Why do you always do that? Just say Frank, your husband.
Well, he's my sexy milk chocolate. So I kind of put him on the spot because he did not know that I was going to say that.
No, not at all.
But anyway, welcome to another episode. And tonight, this is what we're going to talk about. Listen to this. Yeah, we're going to talk about money tonight and how that can impact marriage. I mean, money issues can significantly impact relationships. In fact, there is a professor of family studies by the name of Sonia Britt, and here's what she says. She says, arguments about money are by far the top predictor of divorce. She says it's not children, it's not sex, it's not the in-laws or anything else. It is money, and that applies to both men and women. And, Frank, we have our own issues regarding money.
I don't think so.
Well, I think so. We have our own issues surrounding money, and we have different relationships and understanding and how we view money and we see money. And a lot of it relates back to our family of origin and the ways in which we grew up. So how do you speak to that?
I would guess in terms of when I was growing up, it didn't seem like we were hurting for money. So maybe as I was growing up, I didn't appreciate how to hold on to it or spend it because growing up, single parent, it just seems like it was there as opposed to.
Well, as opposed to me. And anyway, I want to shout out to Jackie. Hey, Liz. Hey, Brenda. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have ability to share, just share this Facebook Live. So my growing up experience with money was very, very different. I grew up in a household where we were extremely poor. People now say I was po, because too poor to even afford the last R on POOR. So we were extremely poor, and that definitely impacts the way that I look at money now. Okay. I won't say that I am necessarily, hey, boo-boo, darling, I didn't see you on there, baby, but I see you now. I don't consider myself a spendthrift. However, I don't have a problem spending money on experiences because that's what's important to me. Experiences to me is more important than things. What do you say about that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to answer that. So move on. I have to think about that. Experiences, or I guess I always thought about things, getting things, and I put a lot of importance on that. But at this point in my life, I realize that all those things aren't that important or even necessary.
Yeah. For me, I will spend money on things when it comes to my children and my grandchildren, but not necessarily a lot for myself, except for costume jewelry. I'm a costume jewelry freak, but outside of that, I wouldn't consider myself as one who spends a lot of money on on things. But an experience, to me, that's priceless because, I know that I'm not always going to be here. I'm going to be gone one day. And I want my children and my grandchildren to look back fondly and remember things that we did together. Okay. Not remember things that I did for them, but things that I did with them. Experiences that we enjoyed. I think about, some of the trips that me and Boo Boo Darling that we went together when, we went to New Orleans, we went on a cruise, we went to Jamaica. All those are wonderful experiences. And to me, that's where I want to put my money, is really on having a great experience creating memories because they will last a lifetime. And those memories, they're going to outlive me.
Yeah.
They will definitely outlive me.
Hearing you say that, and I realize now later on how important it was. I was one that never really wanted to go anywhere. I was just as happy to stay home and not enjoy those things you're talking about.
Yeah.
And, I've missed that.
Yeah. And definitely our family of origin has impacted the ways in which we look at money and the way we interact with money. I remember a particular situation when I was in college. I was a freshman in college. And like I said, we were really, really, really poor. Freshman, 1974. And to tell you the truth, back then, there were grants and loans and all that. And if not for those things, I would not have been able to go to college. My family couldn't afford to pay for college at all. And I remember, a lot of my friends in school, roommates, classmates, other girls in the dorm, they had things. They had money. Some of them had their own vehicles. And I remember one time I went to the mailbox in my dormitory, and there was an envelope from my mother. And I opened up the envelope, and oh my God, there were maybe 10 or 12, and they were single dollar bills. There were maybe 10 to $12 that fell out of the envelope. And I mean, to me, that was like Christmas, and then I started crying because I recognized that each one of those dollars represented a beating that my mother took. Because she was in a very abusive, controlling relationship, and she had to account for every single dollar. And whenever she'd go shopping, she told me the story later that, she'd squirrel away $1 this week, and next week she might squirrel away $2. And every time she would come back home from shopping, she would have to show the receipt and how much change she had left. And if it didn't add up, she'd get a beating. So when I saw that money in that envelope, I started crying because I recognized to me, that was my mother showing her the depth of her love for me, that she was willing to take this beating to be able to send her daughter $10 or $12. And, it wasn't a lot of money, but it wasn't about just the money. It's what the money represented for me. And things like that have impacted for me the way that I look at money. It's not that important to me. I mean, I know we need money to live. We need money to survive. We need to pay our bills. But I have never been one to chase a dollar. I've never been one to do that. Why are you laughing?
Well, two things, because I guess maybe I fall under that category because I'll look to grab as much overtime as much as I can, and maybe sometimes more than I need. I mean, there's a backstory to why I would do that. That's a story for another time. But I would do that. And again, hearing Val's story about growing up and not having, I could see how different our childhood was growing up. Because here I was growing up where I got an allowance. Birthday came, cards came, and at that time, you being young and not understanding, all you thought about was quickly open it up because you knew someone would send money, whether it was my grandmother or her sister, Aunt Olga, or my aunt or someone. So when I hear Val's stories, I just realized how different our lives were growing up where money was concerned.
Yeah. And it definitely impacts the relationships that we have with money now and how we view it. One thing I want to talk about, and because I have this discussion sometimes with my premarital clients, and that is bank accounts, shared bank accounts versus separate bank accounts. Now, you and I, there was a time. Now, this is an issue for us, okay, in full transparency. There was a time when we had a shared account. Everything went into the household account. I didn't even have a separate bank account. Everything went directly into the shared household account. Liz is saying separate. And we have separate accounts now.
And,
Go ahead.
And I think it's more separate now because of what life has, the life we live, how our marriage might have evolved from then to the middle till now. And we got off track of some things, which hence we have things that are kind of separate. Not to say that at some point we could maybe have a shared account. I don't know. But there was a time we had a shared account. Now it's separate. Yeah. And there were reasons why.
Yeah. Well, can I share some of those reasons? I want to make sure you're comfortable.
Oh, well.
Okay. I probably should have asked them that
before we came on, because now everybody want to know what it is. So go ahead.
No, what happened when Frank and I separated the first time? Because we've been separated on 3 different occasions. When we separated the first time, of course, I had to split our funds because he was in one location, I was in another location, so I had to get my own account at that point for me and the babies. I had to have an account for me and the babies. And after we reconciled the first time, we just never got back to creating a shared account again. And we separated a second time, and we separated a third time, and now we are back together. Ain't gonna be no more separation at this point. But really and truly, did you make a face? Did he make a face? Somebody.
My nose was.
Did he make a face?
I like this. Our nose.
No, but seriously, really and truly, the only reason we don't have a shared account right now is because of me. Frank would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. It's my own insecurities. I almost break out in hives sometimes when I think about us putting our money in an account. And that's because I think there is a part of me that still remembers what those experiences were like back then. And we have reconciled. I have forgiven him for all that stuff. He's forgiven me for all of my stuff. And we are back together. Our marriage is better than ever. But that is one lingering thing that I am still struggling with, that I am having difficulty with. Sadell said his nose was twitching. Yeah, right. Because I believe, hey, Pamela, good to see you. Because I believe Frank would, we would have shared accounts now. It was up to you.
Because you heard her say she still struggles. And I know there's some validity to that. But she ain't got no problem when I slide money into her account.
Oh, of course.
It don't have to be shared as long as something coming from my side into her side. And I'm making light of it, but that's just the way we operate now.
Yeah,
and it works fine.
That's the way we operate, and it works for us. And that's what I tell my my couples, especially those who are in premarital counseling. Every couple has to decide what works for them. Now, back in the day, most married couples had a shared account. They had a household account, and then each one may have had a separate account. A lot of times, women would have an account on the side that the husband ain't know nothing about and be squirreling away. I don't advocate that. I don't advocate not telling your husband. But if you have an account on the side, by all means, there's no harm in having that account on the side. Have a household account and each have their own separate account, but each one should know that the account exists and have access to it. I believe in having access to everything. I see you making the face. I don't know if you agree with
about that. Having acknowledgement that is there. I don't need to know how much is in there. I don't need to have.
I need to know how much is in there.
I don't even need to have access to it per se, unless I say, "Hey, Val, I need to go get something out." And she said, "Well, here's the card. Go to this account and get it." That's fine with me. Yeah. Or if something comes up, we both would be willing. Well, listen, I got this little money on the side. Here, let's pull from that.
Yeah.
That again, that works well for me, for us.
And Sadell said that her and Rico, they have an account for the bills, and then each one of them have their own checking account, but they both have access to it and can see it. Now that is real and true transparency. And that itself can eliminate a whole lot of arguments about and over money and finances. If you have your account on the side and your partner knows about it, your partner has access to it, there are no secrets, there's no having a little something on the side. Because I mean,
excuse me.
I would ask, what would be the purpose of having an account on the side that your spouse does not know about? Unless, this is the only exception, it's a temporary account where, let's say you're planning some big event, some surprise for your spouse, and you don't want them to know that you're doing it. Maybe something like that. But other than that, what would be the reason to have a separate account that your spouse knows absolutely nothing about? That would be my question.
Well, again, I would say I acknowledge that it's there, not hiding it. And what goes in there just in case something comes up. Yes. There's some other place to go and get some financial help or whatever.
Yeah. And Jackie said when she was married that there was no joint, nothing, that they had everything separate. And again, that worked for them. Every couple has to decide what works for them. I think the challenges come in when one partner sees it one way and another partner sees it another way. For instance, one partner wants to have a shared account and the other one doesn't want to have a shared account at all, and they are at odds over it. That's when you have to have some sort of compromise. Jackie said, oh, because your spouse doesn't respect the necessity of paying bills. That's true. That is absolutely true. If you are married to someone who, to use Jackie's words, doesn't respect the necessity of paying bills, or someone who may have a gambling problem or some other issue where money is flying out of the house and out of the account, then by all means, then the one who is more responsible and who doesn't have the issue may need to take the reins in that regard. What do you say?
I would agree. I would definitely agree with that, because you don't want to find you don't want to find yourself living on the sidewalk because stuff just disappeared and you had no knowledge of it until it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that would be absolutely devastating. Just wake up one day and all the money is gone. All the money is gone. So let's talk about some ways in which to avoid or to stop fighting over money. And one way is to recognize and appreciate the differences between you and your partner when it comes to money. You can empathize with your partner, and having those conversations, everything comes down to communication. Having those open, heartfelt conversation, and each partner digs deep, and you can share your family history as it relates to money and finances and the feelings that you have that have resulted from that. That experience alone not only can increase empathy, but it can increase intimacy, because we are sharing from our heart and understanding. Because I think my sharing with Frank what my family history was in terms of finances helped him to have a better understanding of me and how I felt about money.
I did. It really did. I mean, sometimes, there was a little, wow, I felt bad. And sometimes I like to think I was going to try to say, well, how can I fix this? But there was nothing for me to fix at that time. Right. It was a learning thing, a growing thing, and we just got better at it.
At that point, it's not about fixing; it's about understanding.
Correct.
And then working together to see what we can do differently, so that the differences that we have don't negatively impact our marriage. And Sadell said, being okay with the fact that you both may not make the same amount of money. Yes. And knowing that one partner may have to put out more than the other because of earning more. That is so true. And I'm glad you said that, Sadell, because that's been our case. Yeah. Well, it used to be, but I retired last December, so that changed. But up until last December, my salary was significantly more than Frank's.
And that goes back from day one, because I struggled with that.
Yeah.
When I met her, I'm like, well, I am dating this woman. She's a nurse. She's doing this. I'm a so-called blue-collar worker, whatever the case is. So I always felt a couple of steps below on that rung of earning potential and what was happening. But once again, you have those conversations, and you find out, hey, babe, it's not about the money, it's
Right.
about us.
Right.
For me, it helped me feel better about that.
And on my part, what I did, especially when we first got together, is I would put my whole paycheck into the shared bank account and let Frank do what needed to be done
that
for the
really
household
helped.
because
that really helped.
That helped. That was
really
for
helped.
him.
That really helped.
Because my salary was so much greater than his, and that was my way of showing him that I respect him as a man. I respect him as the head of the household and respect him to make the decisions with money that, you know, I guess I could say it was mine, but I wanted him to know that it wasn't just mine, that is ours. So I'm glad you brought that up, Sidel, about differences in salary. And when there's that discrepancy, I don't think that it's fair to say, well, we're going to do 50-50. You pay half of everything and I pay half of everything, because the one with the lower income may not have the financial wherewithal to put in 50% of whatever the household bills are. Again, we got to sit down, and that's another thing. The number 2 way to avoid and to stop fighting over money is to make a budget and stick to it. Because when we can look at it, we look at what we have coming in, we look at what what needs to go out. And when we do that, then we can say, okay, there's no way you with your salary can put in 50% of this. It's not fair. So we have to decide between ourselves when there is that discrepancy in salary to determine who's going to put in whether you decide percentage wise or whether you decide on a dollar amount, but determine how much each one is going to put in, because that gap in salary, it's got to be addressed. And you have to look at that in light of what the household bills are. And I'm going to say this for the women, when you are the one who has a higher earning potential than your husband, please, 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 please do not put it in his face. Do not bring it up. Do not make it a bone of contention, because it will be damaging to his male ego and to his psyche. And those of you who are in same-sex relationships, it still goes. The one who makes more should not bring it up to the other one who makes less money, because it is emotionally damaging. Hey, Jade, how you doing, baby? Love you. So keep that in mind. If you think it, keep it to yourself, but don't make it a bone of contention and say, yeah, well, I make more money than you and I can do whatever I want because this is my money. No, if you're a partnership, then be a real partner. And don't remind the other person that you make more money than they do. That's demeaning, and that is emotionally damaging, and it will definitely hurt your relationship.
And one of the questions was, how do you avoid fighting? The 2 things I think. First is, I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry,
not to tell someone what and how they should do with their money.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You hope to, in your relationship, come to a point where you guys are comfortable and you know that either or is going to have each other's back at any given time. I might not have it this week.
That's good.
Baby got it this week. Baby ain't got it next week.
Yeah.
I got it this week. It's
that's good.
There's those times where I could see myself, or I would never tell Val, you can't do this with your money. Sometimes I might not agree. Right. And we have a conversation, and sometimes she'll see my point, but even when she's seeing my point, she's never saying, well, this is money, I'm gonna do what I want to know. Right. Especially when it comes to big ticket items and things of that nature, that's going to cost a lot. Those things have to be discussed.
Absolutely. That's a great point, honey. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Don't tell the other one what to do, what they can and cannot do with the money. I would say the money and not necessarily their money. When, especially for the one who, hey, Lisa, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Another way to stop fighting over money or avoid fighting over money is to not use extremes like always and never. Like, you always spending so much, or you never want to do anything, or you never say yes when I want to purchase something. So we want to avoid that. And he's grinning because we've been guilty of it.
Yeah.
Listen, we've been guilty of it. Y'all know we are completely transparent here.
Absolutely.
When
I'm
we are
sitting
guilty
here,
of something, we do it.
and I can hear her saying that to y'all, and I can hear those words in my mind. Never, and now, but
yep,
it's going to happen, with flesh and blood. When it happens, we hope that we're able to sit down and speak on it and decide what's best for the house.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we have gone there, but it's not healthy. It is. And when we recognize when we do it, that it's not right. And when that happens, now it's on us to make it right with each other, to apologize and to ask forgiveness. And hopefully when I do it, Frank will forgive me, because it's usually me that does it. It's usually me that's doing it. So another way to avoid fighting over money or having disagreements over money is that when there is debt, work together towards decreasing or eliminating the debt. Hey, Ben, good to see you. Good to see you, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. Work together and recognize that you are partners. You are not adversaries. It's not about, well, you went out and you charged that, so now you got to pay it. No, it is our debt. So since it's our debt, it should be us. We should work together towards eliminating debt, because I'm telling you, you can eliminate debt so much faster and so much easier when you and your partner are working together, as opposed to looking at each other as adversaries. And you got your little bit over here, you're going to take care of it. And I got my little bit over there, I'm going to take up. No, let's talk about it. Okay, it may be a card that's in your name, and it may be a card that's in my name, but let's talk about how we can decrease or eliminate this debt together. And I'm telling you, for me, when I was ready to retire, that was so, so important. And I encourage, we should try to eliminate debt anyway. But the closer you're getting to retirement, you definitely want to eliminate that debt so that you have minimal money going out every month. Because once you retire, trust and believe, your income will decrease significantly. Hear your sister, okay? And sometimes we are not completely prepared for how much our salary is going to decrease once we do retire. So attack debt together, work as a team. And what else, babe? Did you want to say something?
No, not on that.
Another way to avoid fighting is the C word. The C word is compromise. There's got to be compromise. You got to talk about it. When there is an expenditure that one wants to engage in and the other one doesn't, how can you meet somewhere in the middle?
I'm not sure that's tough, but what I'm hearing in my head is, as much as Val has said, you work together to decrease things. I still struggle with hearing myself saying, well, those are my bills, especially things that I accumulated through our separation.
Right.
Credit cards or whatever the case may be. I just personally feel like that's something that I brought to myself, and I have to work to get it off. Now, granted, like Val said, it'll be easy if we're talking about it and work out a plan to try to get it down, because it affects us both now. If I was living by myself, it's only affecting me.
Right.
Now we're back together, so it's affecting us collectively.
Yeah, and I understand that you feel that way. I know that Frank feels that way, but I have shared with him on numerous occasions that, let's sit down, let's talk about it, let's look at those things, okay? Now, some of them things, when we were separated, he was spending in some kind of way that
that kind of stuff was done in cash, because you couldn't leave a paper trail. So that was cash.
Oh, that's good. That one was good, babe. That's a good one. But anywho, even though some of that debt was incurred during our separation, that's still my husband. That's my partner. It doesn't matter. Now it's not his debt, it's our debt. So I have let him know, listen, we got to talk about these things, because there was an episode where Frank was trying to, they'll say we are a mess, where Frank was trying to just do it all on his own. And I said, no, babe, let's look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's do this together. And we looked at some of that debt that he had incurred while we were separated, and we got to work at it together and tackle it together. So yeah, work together. You're not enemies. You're not adversaries. Your partner, your husband and wife. You are domestic partners. Whatever you are there together. So another thing is keep the budget and financial goals in mind and discuss with your partner before big expenditures. And every couple has to decide for themselves what they consider a big expenditure, right? There are some couples, and I guess it depends on your income too.
Yeah, sure.
Because some couples, listen, they have an agreement. I know couples, they have an agreement that neither one is going to spend more than $100 without talking to the other about it. If there's whatever amount that you guys agree on, but certainly if there's a big ticket item, talk to your spouse first. Don't let your spouse find out after you've already spent the money. And suppose they feel some kind of way about it.
Especially if it ain't my gift or something.
Yeah, and you know what are you gonna do then? You know, back in the day, and this may still be happening. I know a lot of women used to go out shopping, and they'd hide the stuff in their closet so the husband couldn't see it. Yes, especially if you have a joint account, Adele. You're absolutely right. And they would hide the stuff, and then they put it on. The man see them with it. Oh, wow, why didn't you get that? And they say, oh, this is something I had in my closet. And they've been telling the truth, because it done been in the closet for a couple of months, because they done went out and bought it. They ain't say nothing. Okay? So each couple decide what you consider a big ticket item. What dollar amount do you agree on? We're going to talk about it before you're going to go out and just spend it. For us, it's usually, for me, like going on a trip. Those are my big ticket items, taking a trip. And I'll talk to Frank about it. Matter of fact, I just talked to him about it today, just this afternoon, because there is a workshop that I want to attend in Miami in January. And I went and I talked to Frank about it.
Yeah, but you know what she did? She led into it like this. You know, so Miami, I want you to come. See, always that part. You know, the kind of ease things, invite me along.
But I do. Listen, I would rather be in Miami with my husband than without my husband. It wasn't a ploy, baby. Yeah, okay. It really and truly was not.
But I said I ain't going, but she's still going. See, she's still going though.
I'm still going because he said it was okay. Now, if he had said, no, Val, I'd rather you not go to Miami in January, I'm not going to Miami in January. But I'm talking to him about it first. But I have to say this, in all honesty, I can never recall a time when I have wanted to take a trip or to do something like that, and I've gone to Frank with it when he said, no, Val, I don't want you to do it. I can't remember that ever happening.
Again, what works for us. Val has worked hard all her life. She has started other careers, and she want to go somewhere. What would I look like saying no? If I don't want to go, I'm not gonna say don't go. I don't. Yeah, because I don't ever recall saying no. I don't want you to go. You got to stay home.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that, but I wouldn't go without having a conversation with her. I'm not buying a ticket. I'm not booking. I'm not paying for the conference. I'm not doing any of those things until I talk to my husband first. And then I have to look at and see how it fits into the budget. Can our household support this expenditure? And I would say most of the time is yes. Well, it used to be yes more often than now, because like I said, your girl done retired. I know I keep saying that, but it's real. It is absolutely real. So yes, having arguments or disagreements when it comes to finances, it doesn't have to happen. Those things don't have to derail your relationship. You can compromise, you can talk about it, and be real, be real with your spouse. What is your real income? Especially when you're first getting together. What's your real income? What's your real credit score? How much debt do you really have? How much of that are you bringing into the marriage? Be honest and be real about it so we can sit down and talk about these things. Otherwise, somebody's going to have a rude awakening down the line. And that is where the marriage gets derailed. When those things are not talked about. And 5 years down the road, you discover your spouse is $75,000 in debt that you did not know about, but now you guys are responsible for. So have those conversations. Keep it real. Keep it 100, like the kids say nowadays, and talk about and have those hard and difficult conversations, because it will make your life and your marriage easier. What do you say, babe? You want to add anything?
Bye. No, nothing. No, nothing else.
Hey, oh, there's Femi and Mama Martel. How you doing, Femi from Brooklyn? Femi, it's so good to see you, Femi. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, thank you guys for watching another episode of Marriage Matters that is brought to you by Marriage Beyond the Breach. Marriage Beyond the Breach, where we say when a couple is committed to each other, they're committed to their marriage, committed to doing the work, mission possible. And listen, when you have God in your life and you put him as the front and center and you include and involve him in the mix, you cannot go wrong. No marriage is beyond redemption when you're committed and you have God in your life. Thanks again so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Peace out.